we want the DC Cup not to just be top notch competition, but also a cultural exchange and a lifelong experience that some of these kids may be able to have, and then even on top of that, give them the opportunity to be seen by college coaches, give them the opportunity to be seen by academy coaches, by professional coaches.
Good afternoon. You're here on the Caribbean Sports and Entertainment Management Group platform, which is called Football Insight. I'm Cal Blankendahl with my co-host, Mr. Vernon Springer. We have two special guests here today from the United States of America. They are from the Black Soccer Membership Association. President, Mr. Justin Reid, welcome, and Mr. Glenn Goodwine, who is also the director of the DC Cup. We're here to talk about coaching in the United States by Black American coaches, or known as African Americans. We're also talking about soccer, the educational pathway, and hopefully we can create some closer ties between the United States, their organization, and also coaching groups in the Caribbean who are looking to either travel for competition or to get their students or players into academic institution. Before we start, we want to thank our sponsors, the Island Open Cup, who is sponsoring us again for this magnificent platform, Alkaline Drinks, and any other sponsors out there that are supporting us and coming on board every day. So Justin and Glenn, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Calvin.
Yes, and I would like to start this segment that this platform is only here because my good friend, Mr. Vernon Springer, had an idea to join and start the platform many months ago. We finally got it up and running, and it's because of him that we're able to share these stories. So I'll start with you, Justin. Just tell everyone who you are and what your organization's about.
Well, first off, Calvin, thank you very much for having us, and congratulations on the launch of your podcast. I know how it is to launch a podcast with the BSMA as well, and it's excellent. Kind of gives you an opportunity to hear other people's experiences, and you just learn from different platforms. So want to thank you again for having us. My name is Justin Reid, and I am the president of the Black Soccer Membership Association. It's an association that was started back in 2018, excuse me. And the purpose of the association was to provide a platform for Black soccer coaches, administrators, players, and referees, specifically in the United States. But we found out as the years went along that there were also opportunities in the Caribbean to connect with a lot of different associations and also to expand our membership base. So we have 150 members throughout the world. And the membership has really allowed us to connect and form new partnerships. We currently have, under the North America Caribbean Training Method, soccer camps, which is a program that I am the director of. It's also an arm of the Black Soccer Membership Association. We've been able to connect with other coaches around the world. So the United Football Coaches of Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most recent partners that we connected with. And that has allowed us access to the head coach of the senior team for the men's, the under 20 coach, as well as their membership base. Now, with that partnership, what we're doing is we will have some of those coaches come up during the summertime and they'll work in our camps. So under the NACTM, we did 7 soccer camps this summer. It was kind of our first official year after COVID, where we were able to do camps ranging from Baltimore all the way down to Orlando. It was a great experience, great opportunity to unify and bring Black coaches together. And it also gave Black coaches who came in from outside the country an opportunity to kind of learn from us and kind of see the way that we do things here. So to kind of go back to the Black, Soccer Membership Association, our mission is to provide that that platform. It's to provide advocacy. Is to provide business opportunities, because I believe you can't do anything in this world without business and without having something to create and something to sell and a service to provide, so that's kind of how we've been able to help our revenue. That's how, we've been able to sponsor and promote different things like, invest money in the DC Cup. And Glenn is going to speak a little bit more about the tournament shortly. But to kind of go back, just a little bit of background on myself. I played at the University of Delaware. Played there from 2000 to 2004. I was born in Canada, but I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. So I played a lot in the different leagues in this area, whether it's the National Capital Soccer League. That was the main one. Played for a variety of clubs. MSI, which is Montgomery Soccer Incorporated. Played at Potomac. Played in Columbia for Columbia Soccer Club. So my experience in soccer has really given me just a good outlook on the sport, as a youth all the way to the professional level. So after college, I decided to come back to the Maryland area, and I started a program called Quick Feet Soccer for Kids. And that program is still doing great, still operating. So it's been operating since 2006. This year, we've had 700 kids so far between the spring, summer, and the fall season. We'll see how many more kids, of course, we'll get during the winter time. And Glenn Goodwine, is a colleague of mine for Quick Feet Soccer for Kids. So he's had one location where he has been the coach, and he's just done a fantastic job. Now, I also, after coming back from college and after launching Quick Feet Soccer for Kids, I also worked as an agent. So I was an agent for 3 years, and I represented about 8 MLS players, and mostly guys from the United Soccer League. So I was able to gain a lot of good experience being an agent for 3 years. Had a chance to go to Fort Lauderdale, where Major League Soccer held its combine. I would go to the draft wherever the United Soccer coaches had their convention. They would have a draft as well. All of that they don't do anymore. They don't do the combines and the draft anymore. But it was just such a great experience, kind of getting out there, getting to meet all these different coaches. I was able to meet Greg Berhalter, who is the U.S. national team coach. Great guy. I also recommended a few players to play for the Columbus Crew as well. So all in all, I have experience from the top all the way down. If you're looking at the professional level, all the way down to the 2-year-olds. So soccer has just been fun. It's just been fun. Is a passion of mine. I've been able to make a living doing it. So I love it. And again, I am happy to be here and to share my experiences with everyone.
Thank you. So let's go out to Glenn. And Glenn, give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Thank you. And my name is Glenn Goodwine, and like Justin, myself, I love soccer. I grew up in Texas and Georgia. Got a chance to play with some of the starting clubs for what's now called academies, the Nike academies. Played for Concord Soccer in Atlanta, and Texan Soccer Club in Texas, which is one of the largest soccer clubs in the country. Fortunately, I was fortunate enough to be able to play travel soccer, and then also be a member of the Olympic development programs for South Texas and Georgia. From there, I attended Howard University, where I played under Coach Tucker and Coach Landy from 1993 to 1996, and I graduated in 1998. And that's where I really had my first introduction into Caribbean soccer and players from the Caribbean. Previous to that, I really had no contact with any Caribbean players or African players. None of the diaspora players. It was pretty much in Texas, white and Spanish players, and a few brothers on the team in Atlanta. But being a part of the Howard University men's soccer program really infused me with what was going on in the Caribbean, what was going on in Africa, and kind of brought everything full circle for me. Since that time, I've coached at various levels in youth soccer in Maryland in the United States, anywhere from recreational to the USYS National League and Super Y National League. I've taken teams to championships from Let's see, New Jersey EDP tournament, the Super Wide tournament, and which was sponsored by the USL in um, Bradenton, Florida, at the IMG Academy. State Cup. We've made the State Cup semifinals. Our club, Future Soccer Club, where I'm a technical director, we've made the semifinals 4 different times. We're looking for that final win so we can represent Maryland in regionals and nationals. This past year, our U18s won the Dallas Cup, which is, for those who know, which is probably the most prestigious youth soccer tournament in the United States. It's the first time that a predominantly Black team has won this tournament. So we did receive a lot of accolades for that. And I just love the sport. I try to help, not only Justin, but a lot of other members in the soccer community. I'm a huge advocate for underrepresented communities having the opportunities to play the game at the highest level. And I'm a huge advocate of being a student athlete. So I've helped lots of kids get into various schools where some of them are in school and some of them are actually playing in soccer programs, like at Howard University, Radford University, University of Georgia, Georgia Southern. I've, I'm a huge advocate of that because I think that really can change the trajectory of people's lives.
Talking about coaching in the Caribbean, it's we don't always have all the facilities, but we have the talent. We don't always have the pathway directly to university or college, but we have the academic smarts. Can you help out some of the parents and players that want to go to the United States? The MLS is growing. To get a college scholarship is fantastic, and to hopefully sometimes be able to become a U.S. resident. But what is the pathway if you want to attend college?
So I'm gonna, and Justin can speak on this as well. Attending college is one thing, and then also being a potential student athlete is a whole nother thing. I would say number one, obviously, especially being an international student, in order to attend a university in the United States that's worth its salt, you would need to have outstanding academics and preferably high SAT and ACT scores. Now, there are a lot of universities that no longer require SAT or ACT scores, but the vast majority of academic scholarships given by university is still predicated on your SAT and ACT scores. So I would say number one, you know, um, obviously have the best GPA that you can get. Number two, try to get the highest SAT and ACT scores that you can get, which means that that's going to be a lot of work on the student to study and to try to master the exams as best they could. As far as being a student athlete, whether it's soccer, whether it's basketball, football, obviously, I focus on soccer. Exposure to the coaches. It's a huge myth, and I'm not sure if it's the same way in the Caribbean, but in the United States, many clubs, many coaches sell youth soccer to the parents as a pathway to college when that is not the case. The vast majority of players that I know that end up playing in college is because they've personally reached out to coaches. They've applied to schools before the deadlines, early applications. They're outstanding students and they're great players as well. So um, it's kind of one of those things where in order to keep a player and keep his parents involved in the program to keep the money in, a lot of coaches are saying, oh, your son needs to play with this program because we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and college coaches will be there, which is true. But um, from what I've seen, very few kids get scouted by a college coach and they actually end up going to that school or being offered anything. And I'm not talking about just any player, I'm talking about the best players in the area. So um, it's not an easy thing to do. it can be done, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of persistence. So I just want, you know, the everyone out there to understand that no one's going to come knocking on your door, emailing you saying, "Hey, we're going to give you all this money to come play for us." That's just not how it happens. You have to be dogged in your research. You have to be your own case manager. You have to be your own advocate. You know, I advocate for a lot of kids myself, but it usually does fall. The majority of it does fall on the parent and the student. So I just want to get that myth out of the way.
No problem. Thank you.
Correct.
Just want to go back to front.
Yep.
Just want to go back to Vernon since he's rejoined us, so he can get his question in and his comments, which he was speaking to a few minutes ago.
Well, first of all, let me, on behalf of Football Insight and the Caribbean Sports and Entertainment Management Group, salute our major sponsors, Island Cup Open, for giving us this opportunity to be able to speak to you guys, as I originally talked about.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesia available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will be hopefully happen next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
Hi there guys, it's Sol Campbell here, former Tottenham, Arsenal, Newcastle, Portsmouth and of course England international. The Island Cup starts next summer 2021. Be there guys, because I'm going to be there. All the best. Stay safe, wash your hands and wear your masks. See you there guys.
It was just important to just listen the planned pathway for black young footballers in the United States of America. In the Caribbean, it's also a major challenge because, as you know, the whole system has changed. So if a player is coming from Antigua and Barbuda, he has to go to Barbados to be able to get his visa there. It's really an expensive venture. And so sometimes, as much as you want players to go to the United States of America, we now have to start to look at other avenues to be able to export or give our young players an opportunity. I want you guys mainly to talk about, we talked about the Coaches Association, how many members you have. But if you follow through on what we see in social media, and I have family in the United States of America, it is almost like expensive as a black boy or girl to be able to realize their dream to play soccer in the United States of America with all of these academies popping up. And Justin was just touching in base in terms of parents spending all this money and being told that, this is what's going to happen and this is not what is going to happen. You can't control everything, but how do you guys control this in terms of what's happening, especially the underprivileged kids in the United States of America? How do we reach them?
Well, for me personally, I mean, I'm always going to be in the middle of that in terms of, middle of the road, because there are some coaches in our membership base or even those who are not members who will look at it from the standpoint of saying the pay to play model is not good. But those are the same coaches that are benefiting from the pay to play model. So the reason why I say that I'm middle of the road is because, Quick Feet Soccer for Kids is a pay to play model. and without it, I'm not able to fund my way of living, not able to pay coaches. But then I also have another program called Soccer to Achieve. And that is a program in the city of Baltimore. It's a once-a-week program. And that program is free. And I go and I volunteer my time once a week, to help those kids and kind of get those underprivileged kids an opportunity. I will say there are some clubs, I can't really speak for the rest of the country, but I can speak for Maryland. There are some clubs in Maryland that do an okay job, I'll say, of going into the inner city and actually having programs and then kind of having some of those kids go to their club. Not too many of them, all right, but some of them do it. So the bigger clubs in our area will generate anywhere between $3 to $4 million. A lot of that is coming from parents paying, $3,000 to $3,500 a year. And then some of those clubs are backed by tournaments as well. Tournaments could generate $1 million, so it can be generate to be able to fund kids and bring their. But there's one that I know of. There are multiple. One club specifically, I'm not going to say their name, I'm not going to give them any free press, but they do have scholarship money where they go into other areas, other counties, and they give kids money to come and play for their clubs. Some of those kids are underprivileged, some of those kids are not, so to kind of answer your question, maybe I didn't answer your question in detail. There are some clubs that are working towards trying to be a solution to the pay to play model, but yes, the pay to play model has definitely singled out a lot of kids or has ostracized a lot of kids, and I'm not giving them an opportunity to play at a high level, thus getting an opportunity to go to college, So it is a big problem that we have with the United States kind of being a country that is about economics. It's a country that's about capitalism. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to fight that pay to play model, but some of us are trying.
And
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And to kind of cap on what Justin was just stating, one of the reasons why we started the DC Cup, we wanted to give some of the smaller clubs that do have a pay-to-play model, but they tend to work with underprivileged or underrepresented populations of youth soccer here in the DMV metropolitan area. Many of the kids may be on scholarship or reduced costs, and these smaller clubs compete at a very high level against some of the very big, clubs. Like, I'm not going to put any names out there, like Justin said, but we decided that it would be a good idea to have a different model for our tournament, whereas it's not one club that's benefiting from the tournament, but several clubs that come together and can benefit financially from the tournament. And that in itself helps to pay for some of the things that you have to pay for in youth soccer in the United States. You have to pay for tournaments. You have to pay for league fees. You have to pay for facilities. We have facilities here, but they are very expensive once it gets to the top level of play where you need turf fields with lights. You're training 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night with these kids. It's just, it is expensive. And when you look at other countries, I take Iceland, for example, who over the last 5 to 10 years have become a model for bringing up your youth programs and your national team programs. If you don't have the infrastructure where your country or your county or your state is putting in, fields at every school, to where it's super accessible for everyone, you're paying coaches to go and get their A licenses, then you're going to always be behind the curve. You're never going to catch up with the likes of a Spain or England or a France or a Holland, because that's what these countries do. So I think, like Justin said, you cannot get around the pay-to-play model. Once you get to a certain level of soccer, it is just inevitable. And whether you are the most outstanding player in the world, somebody's going to have to pay for your lodging. Somebody's going to have to pay for your visa. Somebody's going to have to pay for your transportation. So there's just no way around it.
Got you guys. Pretty educational. Now let's look around the world. And the English Premier League, which is the biggest league in the world, has produced some outstanding players from the Caribbean. The Dwight Yorks, you name it. The John Barnes, the Ashley Coles, you name it. But we have a situation where black coaches are not being given the jobs like the Steven Gerrards and company. And, too many times we look around and we're saying, well, why is Justin or Glenn not given an opportunity to coach at the high level? But yet still when they played, they were world-class players in their own right. There's a move on in England, and, we could see this is what happens behind in the boardroom with the politics. And, you're hearing that they're going to come up with this sort of formula to be able to hire more black coaches. Almost the same thing in the United States, with black coaches being NBA coaches with NFL. So it's almost like you're starting from behind the 8 ball. How is the organization dealing with this in terms of education? Because, again, we are encouraging youngsters to play football, but we're also trying to plan a pathway for them. And if Justin and Glenn and the Dwight Yorks and company don't get to coach a top flight club, then somebody might say, well, why am I concentrating to be a coach or to be anything if I'm just going to be an errand boy? How is the association going about educating and trying to see if we could break down what I would consider to be a political barrier between black and the haves not, as I would put it that way?
Yeah, so to kind of, dissect your question here. Now, I do know that England has made somewhat of a stride in terms of getting, the Sol Campbells. Well, I think Sol Campbell is still struggling to try to get a coaching position. But Darren Moore, for example, I've met Darren personally. He has kind of bounced around from the championship. I think he was at the Premier League for a little bit. But they do have a program in the United Kingdom where they've invested $1.2 million a year. It's called the BAM program. So it's Black, Asian, Minority, and Ethnicities. That program helps to educate and provide coaching education for minority coaches. So there has been some coaches that have come through that program, just not enough. I commend them for doing that, because when you look here in the United States, they do nothing like that. U.S. Soccer has no type of program like that where they've invested no money. Now, keep in mind, U.S. Soccer generates $168 million a year. They haven't put any money aside to help the minority coaches get, say, a license. All right. A license can cost close to $8,000. They say they dropped the price to $4,000. But when you spend 6 months getting your A license, it comes out to about $10,000 to $12,000, because you have to pay for your accommodations. You got to pay for your flight. You got to go back and forth from wherever you live to Kansas City. You're leaving your coaching job where you may not get paid. So you got to factor all that in as money lost. All right. So I do commend them for doing what they're doing in the United Kingdom. Now, here in the U.S., I've noticed with the NBA, you are seeing more black coaches. At least this offseason, I've seen most of the coaching hires have been black coaches. So I think it has to do with the league. That's kind of where it starts with. And then it starts with the ownership. Ownership has to understand the value of having black coaches. We don't need black coaches in these positions. We want black coaches. I think that's for anything. All right. In a sense. Now, with Major League Soccer, I know the number kind of bounced up and down. I know Patrick Vieira was at NYC for a while, but he hasn't been there for a few years now. But I think Major League Soccer may have one black coach, maybe, or they might be back down at 0. I'm not sure, but it's not too many. And again, part of it is because soccer has never instilled any type of program like the BAM program in the United Kingdom. So I think we have to get the owners on board in Major League Soccer. We got to get Commissioner Garber on board in Major League Soccer. And we have to get U.S. Soccer on board to understand that we do have highly qualified black coaches in this country. It's just they're not getting the opportunity to get their A license, because it's going to come out to $12,000 after all that's said and done. Even the B license will come out to another $8,000, because you got to get the B before the A, and then you got to wait a year, in between. So there's a lot of money that prices us out as coaches when it comes to getting your U.S. license. It just costs too much money, and that's part of the problem.
And I wanted to cap on what Justin said really quickly. And I think another reason why, and this is changing, It's changed a lot from the time I was a youth playing. Um, the number of black people that you have playing youth soccer in the United States at one time compared to now was in dismal. Like when I was playing in the early 90s, late 80s, 99% of the time I was the only black kid on the soccer pitch. So,
Same here.
that has changed now. And I think what my one of my goals is just to increase the number of black kids that are playing youth soccer in the United States. With that increase of numbers, we have the ability then to put pressure on the administrators, on the CEOs, on the any of the higher ups to include us at the table. That's what the NBA has been able to do because the majority of their players are black. That's what the NFL is doing now because the majority of their players are black. We will not have that chance until we have much more representation of black people in youth soccer in the United States. So that's one of my main goals is get more black kids playing here.
That's very true. And I would say both on the boys and the girl side. On the boys side, I agree
Yes.
with Glenn. We have more black boys playing soccer. But when you look at the girls side, it's what it was back when we played, where it only be one black girl. And I can say that based on my nieces, they play in Virginia. And my oldest niece is the only black girl on the team. She goes up and down between the ECNL team to the top team, and then she goes down to the second level. So anyway, there has to be a way for us to start for black girls, in soccer as well. I think it's critical. But to piggyback off of what Glenn is saying, we do need representation. We need representation at the highest levels in Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer is very diverse. I'll say when it comes to their front office, they always get good grades. They always get an A or a B. There's a report that comes out in Florida every single year that kind of analyzes all the leagues and base it on like what league is diverse, what's diverse. So Major League Soccer tends to always be at the top. Just know if in the front office of Major League Soccer, if we have the right representation, because we're not seeing it on the field when it comes to coaches.
Hey, pretty interesting. Folks, if you're wondering what's happening and you're tuned into the Caribbean Sports and Entertainment Management Group Football Insight program, whether you're viewing us via YouTube or all our social media platforms, or you're listening to us via the radio, we just want to be able to just salute our sponsors in a very big way. Island Cup Open 2022, Altitude, you name it, the number of sponsors, Digicel. We want to be able to just take some time out to salute our sponsors in a very big way.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesia available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will be hopefully happen next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayong Eno, a professional football player. I've played with Standard Liège in Belgium, Ajax Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and also in the Fulham FC in the Premier League. And I'm inviting you to this exciting tournament coming up. That's going to be the Island Cup Open Cup tournament coming up in 2021 summer. Make sure you support it and be part of it. I also want to encourage you to make sure you keep the sanitary rules, wash your hands, keep the distance, stay safe, and let's all fight COVID-19 as we ought to. See you soon, and then make sure you support. Bye.
Cal is the football man. I am just the goalkeeper. So, Cal has got the questions lined up for Justin and Glenn. So, hey, Cal, we just heard about the cost, and that is huge. And I think I'm glad that we have Justin and Glenn here who are talking about the coaching costs, because as you rightly said, nothing is cheap. And somebody has to pay for something. But when you're making 168 million and you're not investing back into your coaching program, no wonder we consistently, and when I say we, I'm talking about the folks who control in the CONCACAF area. So we're talking about United States, Mexico, Canada. United States, we're talking to 168 million from MLS, but you don't think it's a need to be able
US
to
soccer.
give back to the foundation? Pretty alarming. But hey, that's why we design Football Insight, so we can be able to bring out the issues and people can understand what is happening. Because when we flick on our televisions and we're looking at Major League Soccer, and as you rightly said, it's a business model. But if you don't plan to invest back into boys and girls and your coaching education, then you never know. You might be struggling to get to the World Cup in the next couple of years. Carl?
So
Yeah,
for real quick, Al, just real quick, I just want to make sure that we clarify something here. So U.S. Soccer, as I mentioned, their revenue is about 168 million. They do have the U.S. Soccer Foundation that's under them, and I believe they give money to the U.S. Soccer Foundation, and that money is used really to invest in pitches and fields around cities. So they've done a good job with that. They have collaborated with Target, and they have built a lot of mini pitches around cities, and they put up lights. They have a partnership with a company that puts up lights. So kids are somewhat playing in these cities. It's just not a lot. But again, for clarification reasons, U.S. Soccer doesn't invest in minority coaches in terms of a very similar program to the Black, Asian, minority, and ethnicities program that the United Kingdom has under their FA.
We're gonna try and make sure that through this program that we look to change this in the next 5 years, because that is
Correct.
where the process has to come through.
yes. All right, guys, this was some good information. Really enlightening. It's good to know from other parts of the world, and especially we have an interest in the United States as the big country that can get to a World Cup consistently. We're smaller islands, and we love to follow what the largest nations do. Coming from an interest level, we're talking about representation on coaching and players. Is it easier now to speak to young people about playing soccer, or is basketball, baseball, American football still, miles ahead when it comes to saying, "Hey, Cal, come on the soccer pitch," but Dad saying, "No, go the NFL route because that's going to make your career and your salary when you retire much better."
I can speak on to that personally. My family being African American and not from Caribbean or African descent directly, my family was a big baseball family when growing up, and obviously the Negro League baseball players were the heroes of the of athletics with people like Hank Aaron. So I began my athletic career playing baseball. The only reason I probably even was introduced to soccer was because a neighbor of ours who was the coach was from England, and his son was on the baseball team with me when we were little tots, and said to my dad, "Hey, why doesn't your son play on our youth soccer team?" And my dad was like, "What's soccer?" So, um, fortunately enough, I was somewhat of a natural, and then my family grew to love the sport. So I think to answer your question, Cal, now it is much more, it's much easier, it's much more tangible, and it's um, much more acceptable for a black kid in the United States to play soccer than it was 20, 30 years ago. People see, more black professional players. They're emulated more on TV. You have your Mbappes and your Neymars and your Marcus Rashfords and the things of that sort that we did not always have, 30 years ago. my personal hero was Ruud Gullit growing up. So, there's very few though. So, um, soccer has surpassed baseball in the United States as far as the number of black kids playing. Um, it has not surpassed football. It has not surpassed basketball. That's going to be a long time coming. Although it is getting some traction on football, and the reason it's getting traction on football is because the dangers of playing American football with concussions. A lot of the middle class and middle upper class black parents do not want their kids to play American football because of the serious injuries that you can get and the type of injuries that can haunt you later on in your life, the cognitive injuries that you can receive as a youngster that don't show up until you're elder. So there's a big push right now in middle class black communities um, to for kids who would normally play football to play soccer and to play other sports.
Now, Glenn, I think we talked about it off the air. Even though it's Black Soccer Membership Association, it's open to all genders, ethnicities. You don't have to be black to be part of your organization. Tell us a little bit about that decision, because when you read it, it seems like, hey, but it's good to know that it's diverse. Tell us the reason why, if you have that.
The reason why is because obviously, we don't want to advocate any kind of racial disparities, whether it's black, Latino, white, Asian. We want to include everyone, on this journey. Now, the name, the Black Member Soccer Association, we are advocates for people of the Black diaspora to be in soccer and to have better representation in the sport, but that's not all who we represent. Just like the civil rights era here in the United States in the 60s, that made a way for not only black people, but for Asian people, for Latino people, for disabled people, for LGBTQ people. So we know that there's power in the word black. There's power in being black, and that's what we represent. So anyone who wants to be a part of our program is more than welcome to be there.
All right. Let's go to the organization itself. You're looking for representation. You're growing membership. Players are playing at the grassroots level. Is there any professional player that has come on board or is willing to carry you guys on their shoulders and say, hey, I'm going to be the poster boy and profile this entity and organization to encourage more minorities to follow this pathway?
As far as I know, we have not received that yet. Justin would be able to speak to it a little better than myself, but as far as I know, no, that has not happened yet.
All right. So I'm making a pitch for you here because we are part of the Caribbean Sports Entertainment Management Group, which is across many islands, including Antigua, Barbuda, and Bermuda. Of course, we all know the wonderful countries of Jamaica that have had success, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts and Nevis. Would you be open to even someone from outside of the United States to say, I think this is a good cause. It will connect the islands, the youth to be able to have a pathway to go to university and hopefully get a professional career. And I would like to be a brand ambassador for the organization. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely. And one player comes to mind. Obviously, I'm a Howard Bison, but you can look at Shaka Islam. I couldn't think of a better ambassador. If Shaka was to say, hey, I want to be you guys' ambassador, of course we would take him. There are other people like that with that kind of credibility out there. So absolutely.
All right. So my good man, Mr. Vernon Springer, he is a powerful man. So I know he can reach Mr. Shaka Hipslop. It may take him a few tries, but he'll be able to whisper in his ear. So I think those are the people that can help you because we are all one. We're all from the diaspora. Some have moved from the islands to the United States, Canada, England, doesn't matter, but we can all hopefully trace our roots back to there or Africa. And the game is a global game. I love the way you said that even though it says black, it allows anyone to be part of your organization. Tell me, where would you like to see your entity in 5 years? You're moving in here, but if you had a wish list 5 years from now, what would you be?
5 years from now, I would really like to see our representation reach, um, if not the majority, if not all, the majority of Caribbean islands, um, all the states in the United States, and hopefully, all the countries in Africa as well. Um, I believe with social media and with the proliferation of the internet, I think that is a goal that could be achieved. It would be very time consuming, and there would be a lot of work, but I for me, that would be my number one um, goal for the organization, is to reach all the different corners of the globe that represent the Black diaspora, and also to have representation from those places. Obviously, be part of the organization.
Yes, and that's what this platform's for. We know it's very difficult to reach too many people, but through this show and even through our website, which should be coming online in the next few weeks, we will wish to have you as a partner, or so people in the region that are looking for education, even pro opportunities, or even just want to talk about coaching, that they can find you, and we can decrease the gap between the information, because it's all about information. The other leagues, the other organizations have information that they can easily access, or they have people that are their brand ambassadors. And we're starting from now as a platform with 0 viewers in the beginning, moving up to 50, moving up to 100. Together we can grow and help you, and you can help us. Good to have Justin back. Now let's
not sure what happened there.
No problem. It's technology. Technology.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of heavy discussions about pay to play, differences in cultures, challenges for the attraction of minorities into soccer. But let's do some fun stuff. So, what are some of your successes? Because you wake up every day to promote these two wonderful entities. So, what are some of the reasons why you're still doing this? Give me some of your highlights.
That's a good question. You know what? I would say my purpose. So I've kind of had a new purpose, and it's kind of been driven based upon the death of my father. That was last year around June 2020. And one of the things that I would always remember him saying was, just keep working, keep working, keep working. Keep striving and trying to be successful as you can. Quick Feet Soccer for Kids, of course, that's an organization that I mentioned. I started in my parents' basement. I had printed, thousands and tens of thousands of flyers, and I was going around to schools and just dropping them off. And eventually, I thought to myself, it was in an area called Prince George's County. So Prince George's County, that's where Glenn's club Future is based as well. And it's predominantly Black kids. And I just thought to myself, I just don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work, but it was him and his inspiration and his ability to tell me, just keep going, keep going. People will believe in your passion and they will follow. That's kind of what drove me, So I would say Quick Feet Soccer for Kids is definitely one of the successes in my life. And it really happened because after I graduated college, I moved back home, and I started coaching with the Chesapeake Dragons. Lincoln Phillips. I'm sure he's a name everyone knows in the Caribbean, but he owned that club, and he was the one who kind of got me my start in terms of coaching with the team. I'll also credit Myron Garnes. He was another one who kind of helped me in terms of coaching when I came back, because I played for him. I played for him for 2 years, and he helped me for the first couple of years just kind of get my feet wet and kind of get back into coaching.
All right. Switching to another
so it's just really my love and passion for the driven me. And that's the reason why, I really, really, really enjoy continuing to do it. So that's it.
Just want to make sure we give some attention to Glenn and his DC Cup. Glenn, I'm in Bermuda. My good friend Springer is in Antigua and Barbuda. How can overseas teams come and join your international tournament?
If you are to go to the website, www.dccup.org, you will see a link for international tournaments, for international teams to apply to the tournament. Also, under contacts, you have Justin and myself. You have our contact information. You can feel free to contact us at any time. We'd love to talk to you. myself, I'm more of a people's person. I want to talk to you and find out, why do you want to come to the club? What is it that you are expecting? What is it with that you would like to see? So we can make sure that we fulfill that for you. We want the DC Cup not to just be top notch competition, but also a cultural exchange and a lifelong experience that some of these kids may be able to have. And then even on top of that, give them the opportunity to be seen by college coaches, give them the opportunity to be seen by academy coaches, by professional coaches. So we want the experience to be, a paradigm shift. And then we also want this to be a platform for, like I said, we're not going to engage in any kind of separation of clubs and which clubs are, big, small, minority run, white run. But we definitely want to give the smaller clubs the platform to be heard and be seen. So it really helps us when we see teams from Bermuda, from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from Antigua, anywhere in the Caribbean, um, and just any minority run operated clubs come to our tournament, and we can highlight that and we can showcase the amount of talent that's there. That's for me, that's a huge thing. That's why I do it. um, I was fortunate enough to have parents that could provide me to play youth soccer at the highest level and pay those kind of fees and stuff, but not all kids do, and I understand that. And so that's me paying it forward, because I got opportunities that I probably wouldn't have had even with middle class parents, um, playing soccer, playing overseas, playing in Europe for months at a time, playing Olympic development, which is also not free, which should be free. So,
Right.
so this is me paying it forward.
So you have a soccer tournament open to international teams, but parents in the Caribbean that are heavily about education.
Yes.
If you're going to travel, you're going to learn something. We're not going to go shopping, because that's not what we're about. So if parents are going to travel to the United States for soccer, if there's student athletes, can you tell them what educational programs are part of that? Because the parents saying you're going to go to college. We're going to the United States to go to college. That's what they're thinking about. So
yes. So one of the opportunities that we're going to give is a tour at my alma mater, Howard University. Obviously, Howard has deep roots in the Caribbean and in Africa. We want to show the diaspora here in Washington, D.C., which, like I said, it runs very deep. That's an educational tour right there. I personally work for the United States Senate, and one of the things that we would like to do this year is give teams Capitol tours of the United States Capitol. It's right down the street. I'm in the process now of trying to secure tickets for the African American History Museum in Washington, D.C., which is another educational experience. There's so much in this city that that can be showcased, that brings cultures together. So you have the beautiful game, and then you have all of these different wonderful cultural institutions, and that's why I feel the District of Columbia is probably the best place to host the international tournament, outside of the talented teams and the multicultural teams. It's just it's a win-win combination.
fantastic.
Absolutely. And I can just add on to that real quick. Glenn is the tournament director, and his main focus, of course, in his role is to get us the teams. I mean, it's my job as well, to reach out to clubs to get them to come to the tournament. But like Glenn said, he kind of focuses on the communication part, finding out, what made them come to the tournament before, how are we going to retain these clubs, because teams will come and go, they're going to age out, but the clubs will remain and the coaches will remain as well. I kind of look at it more on the business side, because I've always believed there's the business side and there's the soccer side. We both dabble in both sides, the business and, the soccer side. But from a business standpoint, we looked at this tournament as a way to bring a high level competition, international competition to the East Coast. especially the southeast, northeast area. There are tournaments in Florida, there are tournaments in Texas, there are tournaments in California that attracts the international teams, and there's a tournament in Vegas that brings in the international teams, but there's nothing in DC. So we looked at this as a great opportunity to bring in these clubs, bring domestic teams from all over. It'll be a shorter trip. Some can drive, because look at the East Coast. The East Coast, you can drive from Maine all the way down to Florida in about 2 days.
Yeah.
You go to California to get to the bottom of California, it's going to take you almost a day. All right. Especially if you stop, so we've got all these states. We've got 13 states on the East Coast. You add in Ohio, you add in West Virginia. So we have access to so many clubs and so many states. And we just believe that we've never had anything like this on the East Coast before. And DC is just a perfect location for it.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will be hopefully happen next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
Hi guys, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank here, ex-Leeds United, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, and the Dutch national team. Please join me for the Iceland Cup. I'll be there. But in the meantime, stay safe. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and I'll see you. All the best. Bye-bye.
Yes, fantastic. I'm going to hand it back to Vernon. You're here on the Caribbean Sports and Entertainment Management Group, as we have the organizers and administrators of the Black Soccer Membership Association. Vernon, any final questions for these two outstanding gentlemen who are trying to improve soccer in ethnic communities?
Tell us about the association's Hall of Fame and who are some of the inductees that you guys have placed on the high walls.
So we're brand new, and it's as of 2018. So we don't have like a Hall of Fame yet, but we did give a Lifetime Achievement Award to Lenny Taylor. I went to Brooklyn probably about a couple years ago, before the pandemic, and we were at a league game, and at halftime they were nice enough for me to get on the field and issue an award to Mr. Taylor. So as an association, we have just the utmost respect for the Lenny Taylors of the world, for Lincoln Phillips, just men who came before us, way before us, and who set a foundation in this country to get Black coaches out there. We have never really seen anything from an organizational standpoint. There are other, Black soccer and programs that run under other entities, but there's nothing that is a standalone. That's standing alone by itself. There's no entity that it's running under. It funds itself. It gets its own grants. It gets its own sponsorships. It runs its own programs. Nothing like that I know of, at least in my lifetime, has happened for Black soccer coaches. So it's just the beginning. We're only 3 years into this thing, and you could say, 2020 was kind of a year where nothing happened for anybody. So we're really only 2 years into this thing, and we're going to continue to build it, from here on out.
Well, just to let you know that Lenny Taylor is our special feature guest coming up. And so we want to use your platform Cal will send you all the mechanics and, work with your PA team. We'll send you the flyer and the program so that you can be able to help to promote it on your site.
No
And
problem.
as you rightly said, Lenny Taylor is someone from Jamaica who served St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis. I had the privilege of working with him in St. Kitts and Nevis, and now with the Island Cup Open. So he's really deserving of that Lifetime Achievement Award for coaches. And has an excellent brain. He's not just only an excellent human being, but he has an excellent brain and understand the concept and understand the politics also, because he's really helped me, over the years in terms of the football politics in St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean. So more so he understands that and he's connected. And so, we really want to take some time out to salute him. We can talk all day with you guys, but this is just only a phase one of the interview on Football Insight. What we want to be able to offer you guys is a platform to be able to get your message out. So the next time when we come back, we'll now begin to talk about football strategies as to why you think the Caribbean is where it is, why you think America is where it is, why you think the Spanish countries are where they are, what are they doing that we're not doing? Because if you look around now for the World Cup qualifiers, our only hope really is Jamaica. But when you look at the amount of players that Jamaica have overseas as compared to what is happening, as compared to some of the other countries and the performance, there has to be, as we would say, an artificial, more or less an artificial place where we have all these players overseas, but is the coaching right to be able to combine that talent that now comes home and is ready to go to the next level? And so these are questions that, we'll form a panel along with you guys, to find out how far the Caribbean is behind when it comes into the world football.
100 years behind. That's my opinion, honestly. And I wish we could have this conversation now, but I know that we're limited. But they are very, very, very far behind. And part of it is because there's no proper youth system in the Caribbean. Players start really playing and being a part of clubs at 14, 15 years old. I can't speak for all of the Caribbean, but I know this in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's way too late. You cannot develop a player technically. Think about it. Quick feet soccer for kids. We start at 2. And there have been kids that have come through that program in the 15 years that have done it, that have moved on to Glenn's program at Future Soccer Club. The captain who helped to win the Dallas Cup, he started with Quick Feet when he was 4 years old. So there's a system, and I think now he is going to have I think he's going to get a college scholarship. So there's a system, that players go through here in the United States. In the Caribbean, there's nothing like that, and that's the biggest problem. But we can save that conversation for later.
So Cal, you heard it from Justin and Glenn. We need to identify, maybe before the year end is finished, what is the root cause that is affecting Caribbean football? We already have a title for it, and we'll share that experience with the Black Coaches Soccer Association, and we'll be able to maybe even get a Caribbean coach so they could be able to put forward their insight. We kind of know what the issue is because we're in the media. We know what it is, but we need to document it and record it so that in 5 years' time, when somebody look back at Football Insight, they would say, hey, Carl Blankendale and Vernon Springer, these are the issues that they highlighted. And then when we link with a number of our football partners around the world, we will be able to get articles that are going to be put up. Then folks will be able to understand, because I think that's one of the things which are missing from the Caribbean. We have people with information, but the information is sucked in a vacuum. So it's not being exposed out. It was educational and, just inspiring listening to you guys as to how expensive it is to get a licensed coach. The fees that you have to pay. Folks in the Caribbean have to know that, so that they understand that nothing comes cheap. In the world, somebody has to pay for something.
Correct.
But the inspiring thought is that you guys are here and we want to partner with you. We want to make sure we get your message out. And we're pleased that you were able to join us on the Caribbean Sports and Entertainment Management Group Football Insight program. And we know that this will not be the last. What we want to do is to be able to set up a series of campaigns and conversations right across. So I want to just take some time out to personally thank you guys and Carl, who is my partner, for really inspiring and pushing to make sure that we get this conversation out. So, hey, Cal, it's over to you, and I want to thank you guys. I really salute you guys in a very big way.
Thank you, Vernon. Thank you very much.
Thank
Congratulations.
Thank you, Vernon.
Starting the podcast.
First of all, thank you to Vernon first, because he inspired all of us who are on the team behind the scenes, to support him. If the platform, without the platform, we're talking in our bedrooms, we're talking in our offices, on our jobs, but we're not really solving anything. So Vernon is bringing topics that people don't really want to talk about sometimes to the forefront, and we have to sometimes heal the wounds to actually be able to use our arms and fingers. And then to you too, you know, it only takes one person to make a change, and you know, you're a small but growing organization, and there are many challenges because you have to finance it, you have to find the time, and you're trying to also have a good livelihood in the United States of America. We had some good discussions with Glenn. You know, it's a wonderful place, and you have to survive, and you have to try to be well and sound economically, and that's the life of the United States. And you're doing all of those things and trying to take care of persons who may not have the same opportunities as others to play soccer. And you know, when you're a coach, it's not about the ball. Does the player have an education? Do they have a sound home? Do they have access to transportation? Are they getting meals? And even the ones that have it all, you know, are they then a good citizen in life? So coaches are more than just the soccer ball under the arm and the whistle. And from us, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is what I want to say, and hopefully you can talk about this with the more senior players. There's only so many players that are going to play for the United States national team. But in the Caribbean, if you have somehow lineage or heritage, you may be able to play for St. Kitts and Nevis. You may be able to play for Jamaica. You may be able to play for a Suriname, where my father's from. You may be able to play for Bermuda. And I think having 2 or 3 players from professional environments, good academic understanding, physical fitness, to come and join our natural talented players, it will give us a better chance, as Vernon says, to try to make it to those final rounds of the elite competition. So you can help us, and we can help you by bringing the best of the best together. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it, and we're going to make things happen. And Glenn, a Bermudian team may be coming to you soon. Okay,
I appreciate that.
All right. So on behalf of the Caribbean Sports Entertainment Management Group, thank you, Vernon. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Justin. We've had some robust competitions, discussions, but we're going to make it to the next one and talk about football strategies and tactics. And I can't wait. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Take care.